Hello everyone. Today we're going to take a look at energy. This is our first set of notes that we're going to be working on in our new unit, energy. So get out your notebook and we're going to record these notes, and then we're going to move on and work on a little foldable activity so that we can remember some of the different types of energy, how they're related, and what this whole energy thing is all about. So here's our essential question for today. What is the difference between kinetic and potential energy? So as we go through these notes today, we should be thinking about this so we can answer this question. Let's get busy. All right. In order for us to be able to answer that essential question, the difference between kinetic and potential energies, we got to be able to understand the nature of energy. So here we go. We've got a definition for energy, which is energy is the ability to cause change. Other ways to say this is that energy is the ability to do work. This is true too. So energy is the ability to cause change. So is change really happening at the time? Not necessarily. We can look at some forms of energy. Now this list is just a few different types of energy. There are all kinds of different types of energy. Just keep that in mind as we go through this. The first one here is we have electrical energy. We experience this every single day by using our electronics. Electronics work through the power that's produced by electrical energy being used. Chemical energy. Chemical energy is often something that was stored first, and then as the bonds break of the compound, we realize that chemical energy and work is being done. Thermal energy. This is the same thing as heat energy. All right, we're going to spend a whole chapter or a unit on heat and temperature. So we'll get back to that one and talk about it. But just realize that thermal energy is also a form of energy. And lastly, radiant energy. Radiant energy is the same thing as light energy. And we're going to talk about that too, how light and radiation and how that all comes together. Okay, here we go. Kinetic energy. Kinetic energy, by definition, is energy in the form of motion. So another way to say this, we can see if something is moving, if it is moving from one place to another, it's in the middle of its trip, we can say that that object has kinetic energy. And we see right here that kinetic energy does depend on mass and the velocity of a moving object. An example of this would be going down the slide. So we've got these little girls on the playground over here. This one is going, or almost done, going down that slide. She's moving, so she has kinetic energy. And kinetic energy depends upon the mass and velocity of a moving object. Here in the next couple of days, we're going to be doing some calculations. These calculations are going to be depending on the mass and the velocity of a moving object. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Next one we have here is potential energy. Potential energy is energy that is stored. Okay, now energy that could be stored by virtue of its position, by its chemical composition, but there are a bunch of different types of potential energy we're going to see here in just a minute. This example we have of the little girl waiting up here at the top of the slide, this is an example of gravitational potential energy. See, she's not really moving, she's not going up or down, and she's not going side to side. But because she is off the ground a certain height, she has potential energy that's stored in the gravitational field between she and the Earth. Okay, next we have these three different types of gravitational potential energy. The first one is elastic potential energy, and we can see here that elastic potential energy is energy stored by something that can stretch or compress, like a rubber band or a spring. That's why we have a picture of a spring here. Feel free to draw that in your notes in the margin too, beside this definition, so you remember what elastic potential is all about. Other examples would be like the elastic that we have in our clothing. The reason why our clothes stretch is because they have this elastic potential energy in them. All right. So when we stretch it and we let it go, it automatically boings back into its original position unless it's destroyed a little bit. Okay, so elastic potential energy. And we have these little letters that help us signify what potential energy is. So PE is potential energy, and this little e down here is for elastic potential. Next one we have chemical potential energy. Chemical potential energy is PE with a little c down here, and this is energy stored in chemical bonds. There's an example of the picture of the milk in the glass here. Right now the milk in the glass has a certain amount of calories in it, but those calories haven't been released, not until somebody drinks that glass of milk. So when somebody drinks that glass of milk, those chemical bonds that are stored inside the particles within the milk, those bonds break, and that gives the person those calories of energy so that they can continue on and keep going. That's why we eat too. The reason why we eat food is so that we receive the chemical potential energy that's stored in the chemical bonds of the food that we eat. Okay, next we've got gravitational potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is denoted with the PE, and we got a little subscript G here for gravity. And it is anything that can fall has stored gravitational potential energy. We got this example of this rock on top of a cliff here. This rock has a certain mass and it has the potential to fall because it is a certain height off the ground. All right? So it's not falling yet. So we say that this rock has the potential to fall because of the gravitational field between it and the ground. All right, so that gets us started on our notes for energy. Stay tuned, pay attention to your directions. We're going to be making a foldable that goes into our notes for energy to kind of get our minds wrapped around this idea. Remember your essential question. What is the difference between kinetic and potential energy? All right, see y'all later.